Pastor Dumisani, continuing along that line of assessment in assessing what Hamas had done and perhaps minimizing it or contextualizing it, to put it that way, which we've seen a lot of that from here, that the question that comes after, even from neutrals or supporters, some supporters of Israel will say, well, this is a really dark turn in the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. In other words, they actually try to frame this atrocity, this what really was a 36-hour genocide that defies any kind of political nomenclature as being part of a political problem. And in that regard, what really stunned us, and we're actually very interested to hear your insight on this, is that the massacre of the October 7th massacre of so many Israeli children and women energized the university campuses. Yes. So where people had been saying never again from Buchenwald and Dachau and in Israel, they were saying on campuses, do it again. Not never again, but do it again. And we wonder where does that sense of moral collapse come from, where they see that the actual massacre of 1,300 Israelis or 50,000 Americans in one day would energize the BDS, Students for Justice in Palestine, Palestine Solidarity Committee on hundreds of North American campuses.
So Dan, and again, let me tell you, you and Maurice, I'm sure are very aware of it, the anti-Semitism, the threats and intimidation on our campuses in the US and throughout the West has been a problem for many years. And so for those of us who've been doing this or observing this for a while, we were disappointed, but not surprised, right? Students, anti-Israel students on campuses, whether Students for Justice in Palestine, the Muslim Students Associations, and others, have been chanting Intifada, Intifada, globalize the Intifada, or long live the Intifada for years, knowing full well what Intifada means, just like from the river to the sea. They know that it's a call for genocide, but they would do the whole tongue-in-cheek and get really cute, and that's not what this means. And Dan, you've heard me say this before too, and to us as an organization, that's not even the most tragic part. The most tragic part is that these colleges and universities, the administrations, the boards have allowed it to go on for years. The apartheid weeks, right? The demonization of Israel, the lies, the deceptions, coming not just in the Quad, not just during apartheid week, but from anti-Israel professors. We've said that the three-headed monster has been curriculum, administration, and faculty, right? There has been this connection to the demonization of Israel. Our friend and colleague and fellow JCPA fellow, Khaled Abu Tuame, traveled to the United States here back in 2009, and it was already rabid at that point, but he traveled around. He was going to do some speaking, did his college campus tour, wasn't able to speak anywhere because of the threats against him, and he had to have all kinds of security, and he went back and he wrote an article for Gatestone Institute that was actually about this whole campus narrative, and he said then, right, I can almost quote this as well. Again, gentlemen, 2009, he said, because of and I'm paraphrasing this part, because of the Israel hatred, the lies, the deception that's couched in the false terms of Palestinian human rights, right? He says this in 2009. He said, we should not be surprised that if the next jihadists come, not from the mountains of Afghanistan or from the Gaza Strip, but from U.S. college campuses. That's Khaled Abu Tuame's quote, right? He's not American, doesn't have a dog in the American fight. He's not a Republican Democrat. He saw the level of vitriol and Jew hatred and Israel hatred on the campuses, and he went back as an Arab Israeli journalist, sat down and wrote an article and basically told the United States good luck, right? He says this in 2009. So fast forward to now, those of us, again, who've been observing, again, disappointed, but not surprised that something like what Hamas just did on October the 7th is being celebrated. People are excited about it. Jewish students are, for their lives, the videos have gone viral. Students, I believe in UCLA, Jewish students were in a library and the doors were locked and pro-Palestinian students were kicking the door, right? outside, right? And this was caught on camera, caught on the video. Somebody posted it. This is going on across the country. Again, John McWhorter, Glenn Laurie, the gentleman I referred to just a moment ago, one of the people John McWhorter said, he said, even in comparison to what Black students have endured on college campuses in the past, he said, Black students have not faced that type of threat or violence or whatever in 50 years.
A generation of Jewish students are going to be imprinted by the fact that they feel persecuted, and they can point to episodes of stark resistance, physical violence, near physical violence, naked slurs hollered at them by people in real time. All of that on campuses is becoming regular. And there's a whole contingent of supposedly educated people telling them to shut up. Whereas, let's face it, racism on college campuses exists, but frankly, I can confidently say essentially no Black student for 50 years has encountered anything that stark.
I'm going to say again, Black men said this who are not Israel advocates, but they're just looking at what's in front of them, Dan. People, the ones who are that rabid because of unfortunately, the atmosphere that has been stirred up over many, many years on the campuses, this is where we are now. They are praising Nazis. But we've been coming here over a long period of time, and unfortunately, it wasn't really recognized for what it was, hatred for Israel, nothing to do with Palestinian human rights.